completely fucked up.
Hey everyone, Destination Truth here for an update on the Las Vegas Mandalay Bay shooting. I wanted to give my opinion as soon as possible just because already I've had my ear to the ground listening to the mainstream like CNN. I've been listening to alternative news off of YouTube. I've been listening to all the many opinions that are now pouring forth on Facebook and also InfoWars. So I'm getting a very diverse group of sources, and what I'm noticing already is the telltale signs of another like false flag event. Mostly almost just like the Aurora, Colorado shooting, where you've got a white male who has a background that does not sound anything like a radical anything. I mean, the guy is nearly 70 years old, he owns 2 planes, owns a business, and apparently decides to get a bunch of fully automatic weapons, and everyone that knows him says he's not a gun person, didn't know he owned any guns, and supposedly the guns that were used in this shooting weren't his, or at least weren't registered to him. So already we've got a lot of interesting things going on, and I wanted to share 5 things that almost always come to fruition during false flag events. And when I say it's a false flag, I'm not saying this didn't happen. I'm saying it happened, but there are things in the background that the mainstream media and whoever's behind this, the deep state, for example, don't want you to know. One, as this story gets reported on over time, details are going to come out, facts that have been verified, that the mainstream media will not address, and they are going to stick to a single narrative, such as the one they're already going with, that this is another lone wolf attack from one insane person. Now, just as a side note, already we know that there's a good amount of evidence from the actual videos of the shootings that there were 2 gunmen shooting from 2 different windows. There are 2 broken windows on the Mandalay Bay Casino Hotel. So 2 windows, and during the audio recordings of these many different videos that we have seen on the internet, it does in fact sound like 2 guns shooting in unison all the time. So they stop in unison and they begin firing again in unison, it seems like. Anyways, so just interesting points. And again, the story is saying that there's a lone gunman, one guy, who is a very unlikely suspect. 2, the propaganda to spur a culture war is going to spew out from this, and it's going to, again, push the anti-gun narrative forward even more. And believe it or not, in US history, this is probably the most horrendous shooting in US history other than the Sandy Hook shooting. And as you hopefully know, there is a gargantuous amount of evidence suggesting that the Sandy Hook shooting was also a false flag event, being that it was perpetuated by more than a lone gunman, as they would like you to suspect, and that there were in fact other parties involved. So yeah, we already know the anti-gun narrative is getting pushed forward with this. There's a large amount of anti-gun rhetoric being passed around on Facebook right now. A lot of people are saying, do you get it yet? Do you get it? We gotta ban all guns. That's pretty obvious, and it's coming forward through natural situations, just with people talking on Facebook, which is concerning because this is what they really want. They want to, if they can't do it through the normal means right now, through the courts or through voting, if they can't get it passed, like gun bans, for example, then they're going to just continually use propaganda so that the new generation, our generation, will be brainwashed enough to pass those laws. And I'll address that again in a little bit. All right, so third thing that you'll see happening in all false flag events is that there will be evidence of foul play or other parties being involved that will be ignored or be called conspiracy theories. I've already discussed that. So there's already evidence of that, but it's not being addressed as of yet. 4, people with dissenting opinions will be shamed using emotional appeal, suggesting that anyone saying that we still need guns, they're going to be shamed because you don't care about the people that died. By using the bodies of the people that died, they're going to shame anyone that is still pro-guns. And 5, the use of crisis actors or evidence suggesting group planning and conspiracy theories will come forward, and they will be addressed as such, being conspiracy theories without any actual standing, basically. So all of these 5 things, as far as I am concerned, have already been spotted in this story. And as more and more information comes forward, you're going to see more and more evidence of it. And it's important to note this just because we're living in times that I truly do believe we have to evolve our thinking, not just ours, but rise where we stand and bring everyone with us, in the sense that we need to have higher critical thinking on everything we see in the media. We cannot allow our emotions any longer to get the better of us when it comes to important decisions such as overturning our rights, giving away our God-given rights and rights given to us by the Bill of Rights or the Constitution. When it comes to things like that, we can't be so emotional. I mean, if we would have given up all of our rights by now, basically. Especially now with the SJWs, right? I mean, if the SJWs are some of the loudest among us, then laws would be passed to overturn our First Amendment as well, overnight. So, as an agnostic Christian, I think it's also important to denote that the basis of this whole story is that Antifa is now waging war with Christians, because this was a largely white Christian group of people listening to country singers that were Christian. So that is another narrative that is probably going to get spun. I think the thing that the left really wants is there to be a backlash of white Christians. The only problem is these people are not intelligent enough, I guess, to understand even the basics of Christianity, that Christians are martyrs by nature. I don't suspect there will be any real backlash other than prayers. Christians are not the type to wage a holy war anymore. There's no crusade coming. These people will pray for the dead and they'll comfort each other. And Christians as a whole are not likely to be violent in their reaction. And as an agnostic Christian, I would compel Christians to unite together, to comfort each other, and not spread hate, but to spread the word of critical thinking and spreading the word that this might not be as simple as a lone gunman attack as the mainstream media would like you to think. And the use of critical thinking can go a long way. Mostly at this time, I just want to reemphasize an opinion that I share with Ben Shapiro, that no matter how many attacks happen, even if they are just lone wolf attacks and that they are genuine in nature and there is no foul play or other parties facilitating this, even then we cannot give away our Second Amendment right. If we do, we will have secured a one world government without contest, basically. The United States is in fact the last standing nation on earth that has the ability to fight a regime that is totalitarian in nature because its citizens are armed and because they have a conservative military group. Now, around the world, you'll see police forces being tyrannical. And unfortunately, we know from studies that we've done in the US that largely people will follow orders. Now, if you are in the military or you are a policeman, I strongly encourage you to question your orders whenever possible. And even when unpopular, perhaps it would be better for you to finally blow the whistle, quit, or do whatever you can to stop bad orders. If there is an instance where you are told to stand down from doing your job or to do your job with excessive force against a different group, or vice versa, these are instances where you need the media, and obviously the mainstream media won't report on what you have to say. So please, I encourage you to find people like myself, or go to InfoWars or any other large group, or small group. Small reporters as well are gaining in popularity rapidly. So I encourage you to share your stories. And definitely, if you're in the military, keep your wits about you. We're living in times where you no longer can be oblivious to these things. You need to use critical thinking in all things and look at all news stories with an analytical mind. Lastly, my heart goes out to all of those who have lost loved ones and relatives to this shooting. It is tragic, and it is very, very real, and it is the worst in American history. At this time, there's, I believe, over 52 confirmed dead, and still reports of up to 200 wounded. But there are also reports of 500 wounded and 59 dead. So I'll round down for now, but nonetheless, the matters really don't matter. What matters is that there is potentially a false narrative, potentially foul play. We have clear evidence of potentially 2 shooters, and yet there's only 1 being reported on. So keep your wits about you, and please tell me in the comments what you think. I want this to be a narrative, because honestly, just riding public transportation and looking on Facebook, I see a desperate cry for dialogue on this matter. I think all Americans are desperately wanting to discuss with their neighbor, friends, and family about this and what we should think about it. And I don't think nearly enough people feel comfortable actually talking to people about it. So I do encourage you to leave me comments. I will respond to you for as much as a week after the video. And everyone watching this, I desperately want to make more videos. There's a lot going on in my life personally that is holding me back from doing that, but I have a Patreon account now. I'll put that in the comments. Please, please, please support me. At this point in time, my goal is just to raise $20 a month so that I can pay for my editing fees, so that I'm not doing this at a loss, at least breaking even. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and again, keep your wits about you. Together, we will find the truth.